afternoon. Welcome, everyone. You're listening to Radio Kapwa on CKUT 90.3 FM. We are continuing today with just like the amazing honor of interviewing amazing leaders in the Black community in order to celebrate Black History Month. Radio Kapwa is giving up their platform all month to just highlight all these wonderful people doing wonderful things. So today I am so moved to be able to welcome Julie Savaria, who is the founder of Bindia Savaria Consulting and is also a JEDI designer, so Justice, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion, and is a fellow decolonizing mama alongside me and Des. Our beautiful children are actually in the same daycare, so we always spill the daycare tea to each other. And these networks are important to be able to keep our children safe. So just honored to have her as a friend, honored that my son gets to grow up with her children. And yeah, so I guess we'll just start. Julie, thank you for being here. Please introduce yourself in whatever way feels right that I haven't celebrated yet, and tell us a little bit about what you do.
Well, first, thank you so much. I'm super thrilled. I think this morning when I got up, it was part of my just feeling very energized, very grounded. So thank you so much for having me. And I think you did a pretty good job. Maybe what I can add, well, yes, Julie Savaria, I can add my pronouns. My pronouns are she and her. And people often ask me why I chose specifically Jedi. Um, and for me, it's simply a matter of going beyond, going for something that is regenerative, that is outside of frameworks that society really likes to put in place. When you look at the work of equity, diversity, and inclusion, it became so trendy, so buzzwordy, um, so not what it's supposed to be, right? Because for me, this is work. This is the work of almost a study of humanity, right? Have being able to have those human conversation, understanding where they come from. So for me, adding the term justice to it just adds another layer that just brings us on this journey, that it's not, okay, well, let's put in place policies to make sure that folks that has been systemically excluded from our society can have a voice. It's like, yes, sure, of course, but what's the vision after that? Because otherwise it just becomes another set of just check boxes. Other than that, I'm many things when I think about it. I'm a fellow scientist, the proud mother of two beautiful children that have multitude of ethnocultural backgrounds. I am a proud Senegalese Canadian, married to a Haitian man. Therefore, yes, a lot of different traditions, but also a lot of history and going back to the roots of where we come from, how we present ourselves, which is very important for me.
I love that. That's really beautiful. And I just wanted to make a comment of what you're saying about JEDI, because exactly EDI work, equity, diversity, inclusion work is super trendy right now. And the reality is it's the language that's acceptable in these white supremacist spaces who are saying they want to do the work, but are kind of just like dipping their toe in it. And the reality is what the true work we want to be doing is decolonization, but we can't say decolonization just yet. People are not ready for that. So I love that you're still just pushing it a little bit more forward by adding the J, by adding the justice piece. So justice, equity, diversity, inclusion. And thank you for that amazing work you do. And I've done some contract consulting work with you, and it's been wonderful just building that allyship and working together. I know that we did a contract for a big company where you were taking care of the Black employees and I was taking care of the Asian employees. And it just really warmed my heart how we're doing the anti-racism work alongside each other as opposed to kind
Mm-hmm.
of in silo, right?
Exactly. And you touched on decolonization work, and it's so fascinating to me because, well, of course, depending where you are in the world, decolonization may mean something different in practice, right? And I had the amazing opportunity to actually be able to talk about decolonization in a way that did not feel fake, in a way that really pushed the agenda forward. And I have to admit, at first I wasn't sure if I wanted to talk about it, but then I decided that that organization was ready, but they just needed someone to model how to have those conversations, what it looked like. That you don't always have to be right, right? Because more often than not, people are going to look at decolonization and going to think, okay, well, let's look at the truth and reconciliations action item. What are we doing? Okay, so let's bring some indigenous folks in the conversation, and but kind of scrambling a little bit. What I usually tell my clients is really just take a step back, and the journey has to start with you, right? Because yes, you're part of an organization, but organizations are made of individuals. Society is made of individuals. So if we don't do the work ourselves, individually, personally, then how can we expect an organization to become more inclusive, more equitable, and decolonized? It just doesn't happen that way. But yeah, so I just wanted to add that little note.
Thank you so much, Julie. I'm so happy to have you here. And I also just wanted to quickly shout out the work that you do at JEDI Kids. So not only does Julie support and educate companies and organizations, she also provides so many resources for moms. There was a beautiful conversation that we had together during the pandemic, and you had just given birth not long, I think you're a year in, and we were having this conversation, and you felt this urge and drive to support moms that wanted to raise anti-racist children. And just please share the amazing work that you do at JEDI Kids, because again, just the resources, the books, and the knowledge that you share, so that mothers can maybe not decolonize, because as Fred said, like some people are like, that word might just be a bit too much too soon. But there are so many of my white friends that were like, what can I do for my kids? And so I love how you were, planting these beautiful seeds to educate mothers in raising their children.
Yeah, so JEDI Kids is it's actually big shout out to Des, because JEDI Kids would not exist if it was not from that conversation that I had with Des. So shout out to you. So JEDI Kids is my heart project. It's my baby, my passion project, that really stemmed from the fact that I had a lot of white mom friends who would come to me, especially after the murder of George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, Joyce Echaquan, etc., that would come to me and say, "Hey, I did an audit, quote unquote, of the books that I have for my kids, and all the characters are white. It's all heteronormative. What do you suggest?" So I literally had a list of books. At first, it was dedicated to just having more Black kids, different family structures represented in books, and then I decided to create a platform on it. So JEDI Kids is on IG, and I have a website where I put the resource tab with all the different voices, so Black voices, Asian voices, LGBTQ, I2 plus voices, consent, a lot of different voices, and also separated by age groups. So 0 to 4, 5 to 8, and 9 and over. I'm working on actually doing a French equivalent, because there are books in French, but they're often written by white folks. So I really want to push those beautiful books forward, because there's so many things that we can learn from these books. I'm amazed. It drives my husband completely crazy, because at home I have stacks of children's books that talk about everything and anything from sexual orientation, gender identity and expression, different abilities that we all have, right? And how they show up. So stay tuned, because big things are coming for JEDI Kids this year, including a course that is going to be designed for that purpose. So yes, stay tuned.
Yay, thank you. And I know that every time I'm at the library, I'm like, oh, what did she put? Or what are the books that I need to take out? So thank you for that work, because I learn a lot through the books that I read to my daughter. So please, Julie, tell us, what does Black History Month mean to you? I mean, in the work that you do and what you've seen, all the companies are doing all the things in February, So we'd really love to hear what Black History Month means to you and what is something that you want non-Black people to know about.
Yes. Oh, Black History Month.
We've had this
What a
conversation. We've had conversations, but please share your thoughts.
yeah, I always say what a delicious month it is. Where you see all of a sudden all organizations um just scrambling, right, to find Black folks to come and talk about really anything and everything. But I'm very sarcastic about it. But this month, I actually decided to focus a lot on if you haven't contacted me by December or early January, I am not going to accept your contract. So that's something that I've been very intentional about, because if you were really honestly vested into that work, then you would have planned ahead. So that's just a little practice for me. But well, Black History Month is rooted in awareness, in education, in spreading the word, right? However, now it took a different meaning, right? It takes a lot of meaning around, okay, let's put all those activities together. Let's bring someone to talk about the same things year after year after year to our organization. And so the way that I like to think about it now, and I had the time to think it, to reflect on that question, is really more to think about more like a Black Future Month, right? Where the focus is not on necessarily what happened in the past. Yes, it's important. We need to know where we come from, the history, the context of the country that we're in, how society has been built, and how Black folks were brought on this land. But I also want to be intentional in thinking about the future. For example, for my children, what does it look like? How can I infuse more themes like joy, like rest, into these months, so that it's not only about talking about the um, different types of leaders and everything that happened, but it's also about thinking about what does Black joy looks like, what does Black rest looks like. So that's what it means for me, and for anybody that is non-Black. So if it's at the very beginning of where you're at, then please educate yourself, but more so try to see if you can identify an image of Black joy, of rest. Or is it always something that's forceful, that's always traumatic, it's always about who has been murdered or whatnot, right? Really really being curious about that. And if so, just continue to cultivate what it looks like for you, what is Black joy looks like for you, whether it's through music, movies, theaters. There's so many things that we can do, so many resources. So this is what it looks like for me.
That is so beautiful. And that is like before I even ask you my question, I just wanted to address the fact that I also said, Happy Black History Month to my two colleagues slash my boss. So I work in a law firm, and the two partners are two Black young women as well. And before I left, I said, oh, hey, like Happy Black History Month. And then she stopped what she's doing and she goes, hey, like, I really do appreciate you saying that though. And I'm just like, no, it needs to be said out loud. And it sucks that only 1 month, it seems like 1 month, Black people are trending out of the 12 months, which I don't find fair. Like you said, Shira, we're Black. After February, we're still Black. And then January, we're still Black. And I was asked the same question for the Filipino Heritage Month. And they asked me, oh, what will you do for this month because it's Filipino Heritage Month? I'm like, can I choose not to be Filipino? I cannot anyway, right? So I will still be Filipino tomorrow, the next month, the next year, the next decade. So yeah, every day is Black History Month as much as every day is Filipino Heritage Month, and your work is very important. It's very important for us to also do provide our allyship and being more intersectional. And that's my segue for your question, for my question. As someone who is a student advocate already, in my own personal rants, I always say that who's going to advocate for the youth, for the children, because they don't know the rules of the society at the moment. And the fact that we know that there is a student advocate in CJEP level, where, I feel like that type of time of a year of as a youth was very important for us. Like, who can we trust and who will advocate for us? So my question to you would be, what does allyship and intersectionality mean to you?
Yes. So allyship is also one of these words that a lot of people don't understand what it looks like. They don't see what is allyship and what is not allyship. So I think the first thing to do is to really understand what allyship is not. That's often what I'm going to talk about with with people that I talk about this topic, or with clients. And if I can just break it down, because we can talk about this for like an hour, but if we just break it down, being an ally is, one, making sure that you can provide your support, whether it's resources, whether it's intellectual expertise, networks, etc., to a movement, a cause, a community that's been systemically excluded intentionally, and making sure that you don't center yourself in the middle of it, right? Because allyship is not a title. Being an ally is not something that you should be recognized for and celebrated for. It's something that you should be doing because that's what you should be doing, because that's what's right. So when we talk about intersectional allyship, it requires a couple of things. The first thing is that you have to really get to know why you actually want to contribute to a particular movement. Is it because you really want to do something? Is it because you may feel guilty because of your ties to a historical context? Is it because you want to make yourself feel better somehow? So really being curious as to what is driving it. And then once you know why you're doing it, then it's much easier to go out and starting to build those bridges and those networks with other folks that may or may not be living systemic exclusion, I should say, but really building on these networks, because more often than not, people just want to go to action, and they think, okay, I'm going to become an ally. What should I do? Read? Should I donate? Should I protest? But they don't take the time to actually reflect on the reason why they want to do it in the very first place. So my biggest advice is always to, okay, that's great. No matter if you present yourself as white, or if you are Black, Filipino, Indigenous, whichever communities you identify with, you really need to take the time to reflect and to think about, one, your own identity, because I can guarantee you a lot of people, I will dare to say 70% of our society here, I'm going to say, here on Turtle Island in Canada, we don't understand our identity. We don't understand our cultural identity. We don't understand our social identities. So making sure that we understand these different facets of our being is going to be important if we want to go and try to contribute to the well-being of others. And then after you go out, and then after you start to build those bridges, listening to different shows like yours, for example, and then after you work together, because it's not a competition, right? It's not about who's going to be the best ally today. No, you work together so that whatever is created is going to actually have an effect that's not going to be isolated, that's going to have an effect of maybe helping to tilt the balance on this system that is not built for people that are not presenting as white, right? For like in that particular context. So yeah, this is what intersectional life should mean to me.
So many gems, right? And I think that for us, I mean, we're going to say this at every episode for Black History Month, but it's about making sure you have the proper diagnosis of the situation and then the proper self-education before taking action, because then that action can be harmful, right? So we were really intentional this month about giving up our platform. And for us, the diagnosis was let's be truth tellers. And in the Filipino community, there is very deeply rooted anti-Blackness. And for us, wanting to build allyship means that we want to address that. And the reality is something that isn't spoken about enough in our community. And again, I'm going to say it every episode, is that we have Black Filipinos. And I'm not saying mixed race Filipinos. We have Afro-Filipinx, Afro-descendant Filipinos. We have Filipinos who look more stereotypically Asian, and we literally have Black Filipinos. And surprise, surprise, and I know you're not going to be surprised, but the indigenous community who is Afro in our culture is the one that is the most oppressed. They live in the most beautiful island, and they just keep getting the smaller portion of the island as the rest of the island is developing and building casinos and hotel and catering to tourism, right? So the anti-Blackness is very much deeply rooted into our culture. And I'm going to pass it to Laura for kind of one of our last questions, because we just think that this representation piece is so important. Take it away, Laura.
Yes, thank you so much for that. I'm understanding that it's really just grounding in yourself and then understanding where your intentions are, and confirming that these are your intentions by knowing where you stand and by being grounded and working together. So all of this to ask this next question: what message would you like to send to any Afro-Filipinxes listening who struggle to feel seen, heard, or being enough?
Once again, do you have more than an hour? I think the first thing I would say is, at a foundational level, is that you are enough, right? And it is not your job to please others. You were born this way, and it is a beautiful thing to exist as a soul in your body, in the body that you have itself, is a miracle, right? So that's the very first thing. The second thing is, you have a voice, right? You have a voice, and I really understand the the systemic limitations of being able to use that voice, but there are spaces that feel braver for you to practice using that voice. Because something that a lot of folks don't understand is, people always, and same thing for, let's say, for sexual assault, sexual harassment, that, oh, but speak up. Well, try to speak up in a world that's been telling you since you were a child to not ruffle feathers, to always have a consensus, and especially if you identify as a woman, to stay small, to play your role, to play your part, right? It requires much more than speak up. It requires for us to really to break that construct that has been imposed on us, that we can use our voice, that we are multiple voices, right? And that it is okay to say what we have to say. So I really look at this as a practice. So find those spaces, or find that person that can hold that space for you, right? Whether it's a coach, whether it's a friend, whether it's it's a space like Center Kapwa, for example. But find a space where you can practice using that voice, because once you have that practice, believe me, you're gonna flex that muscle for a very long time. So yes, it requires a lot of self-love work, especially when you've been told time and time again that you were not pretty enough, that you were not good enough, that you don't belong because you look a certain way. But hey, guess what? Historically speaking, you are the ancestor. So let me just say it again. You are the ancestor. So, take pride, let's take pride in that and acknowledge the history, not a whitewashed one that we have been told for so long. And I feel the same whenever I talk about colonialism in Africa, right? It's really, it's just about recognizing the immense power that we have. So let's use it, but it starts with a practice first. So that's my message.
Thank you so much for the encouraging message and for spending your time with us today. You have been amazing, and you have been so eye-opening and so helpful in this process, in learning. It's been awesome. Thank you so much for joining us today. We'd like to see you again soon. Thank you, Julie.
Thank you, Julie.
You're welcome.
sort of guy. Ordinary, ordinary guy. Afro-Filipino, average sort of guy. That's what I am. Ordinary man you left behind. Taxis take me downtown. My apartment is my home. I spend the weekend with my friends. Otherwise I'm alone. Don't know much about psychology. My degrees are in streetology. Ordinary, ordinary guy. Afro-Filipino, average sort of guy. Salsa! Hago sal!
Welcome back. This is Laura, and you are just listening to Ordinary Guy by Joe Bataan. We are celebrating Black History Month this February on the Turtle Island, colonially known as Canada. And we hope you enjoyed our interview with Juie Savaria, social entrepreneur, founder of Bindia Savaria, community leader, and designer of JEDI, that is Justice, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion, today on Radyo Kapwa, CKUT 90.3 FM. We encourage you to connect with Juie Savaria by visiting www.bindiasavaria.com, as well as her Instagram, Jules_Bindia. That's spelled as @JULZ_BINDIA. And if you missed the first half of this episode, you might want to find it later because Julie dropped knowledge and wisdom as she shared her experience and passion as an advocate for the Black community and beyond. Up next, you'll be listening to Autumn Tears by Tamara Grace. Tamara Grace is an Afro-Filipina, Montreal-bred singer-songwriter and musician who made a swift ascent from the underground onto the Canadian music scene with her sweet blend of pop, folk, and adult contemporary. The 22-year-old is known for her emotive songwriting and dulcet tone and has collaborated with top-shelf veterans, including Dominique Messier, better known as Celine Dion's longtime drummer.
Nothing was ever the same, and for that I had myself to blame. Drank till I could barely stand, now I'm so ashamed. Staring at our old pictures in its frames. You love to dance on my mind with your childish games. Yeah, you stay. You said I look sweet when I'd say your name. You'd walk out the door, thinking, have I gone too far this time? As the walls get harder to climb, I put my autumn tears on you, hoping I made myself clear that I loved you but I hated you, and I just can't seem to hide my darkest fears. I put my autumn tears for you, hoping you know how I feel. 'Cause I just can't seem to heal. The sun is up and I'm down again, walking in circles with thoughts in my brain. Thought you would understand, let me explain. Dancing on my own in the pouring rain, I kept on convincing myself I ain't gone so insane, no, from the pain that I made, but I can't be one to complain. Memories on the floor, thinking don't take it too hard, you're fine. As my thoughts are now loud in my mind, I put my autumn tears on you, hoping I made myself clear that I loved you but I hated you, and I just can't seem to hide my darkest fears. I put my autumn tears for you, hoping you know how I feel. 'Cause I just can't seem to heal. I put my autumn tears on you, hoping I made myself clear that I loved you but I hated you, and I just can't seem to hide my darkest fears. I put my autumn tears for you, hoping you know how I feel. 'Cause I just can't seem to heal. All said is done, all said and done. It's all been fun, but I'm so done thinking about you. Thinking how could I live without you? All said is done, all said and done. It's all been fun, but I'm so done thinking about you. Thinking how could I live without you?
We hope you enjoyed listening to the wonderful Tamara Grace. The music video for Autumn Tears just came out on February 1st, and we encourage you to search that up on YouTube and watch it expeditiously. Coming up next today, we have our regular segment, Weekly News from the Philippines with John Marvin Reyes. Thank you, John Marvin, and take it away with that deep, buttery voice.
Magandang hapon sa inyong lahat. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is John Marvin Reyes. I am a youth leader and a community organizer here bringing you important news back home in the Philippines. The article is from Rappler with the title, Filipino Chef Joanne C. wins Asia's Best Female Chef Award for 2023. Filipino represent. Filipino chef Juie, who helmed Singapore's Lola, is Asia's Best Female Chef of the Year, as awarded by the Asia's 50 Best Restaurants Academy. Cede, the first Singapore-based female chef to win the accolade, is hailed for her deep understanding of provenance of ingredients and her flair for presenting cuisine that is produce-driven, alongside mindful inclusions of the culinary traditions she grew up with. Her work at Lola is a true reflection of the many years spent in international experiences sought in order to hone her craft. The Academy added about the head of chef Lola. Lola, located in An Sang Hill, serves inspired yet simple, small plates combining the finest ingredients and seasonal produce with the influences of Mediterranean. Lola ranked 75th in Asia's Best Restaurants list for 2022. The Dagupan-born chef C's culinary style combines modern European fine dining with Mediterranean influences, having cooked in farms and kitchens in Scandinavia. She studied at the Culinary Institute of America and La Bernardine under renowned culinary figures Chef Eric Ripper and Chef Daniel Boulud. C expressed her honor and gratitude in receiving the award, acknowledging that it is a great validation for her team and herself for all the hard work invested in bettering their craft every single day. I am grateful for this platform that allows me to reach out to so many young chefs to hopefully inspire them to overcome barriers and push boundaries, she added, also praising the work of many remarkable women in the food and beverage industry. In June 2021, C was also awarded Female Chef of the Year by Singapore's World's Gourmet Awards, or WGA, for her excellent culinary skills throughout her fine dining career. Recent Asia's Best Female Chef winners include Tokyo's Japanese chef Natsuko Soji in 2022, Shanghai-based Dai Tam in 2021, and Korean's Cho Hee-suk in 2020. The last Filipina winner was in 2016 when Margarita of Kibo fame won the title. The Asia Best Female Chef Award is voted by over 300 international members of the Academy as an homage to women in gastronomy who continue to push the boundaries of excellence with their skills, techniques, and crafts. This year's Asia's 50 Best Restaurants 2023 list is to be announced in March 28 in Singapore. The article was published on February 7, 2023. Thank you so much for listening. Maraming salamat sa pakikinig. Once again, this is John Marvin Reyes, delivering you Philippine news from abroad.
Itaas ang kamay at kumaway sa langit. Iwagay-way, tigpitan ng kapit. Saan mang sulok ng mundo'y aawit. Iaalay sa bayani na. Itaas ang kamay at kumaway sa langit. Iwagay-way, tigpitan ng kapit. Saan mang sulok ng mundo'y aawit. Iaalay sa bayani natin. Mula sa hirap ay aabot sa langit. Pangarap ng pamilya ko ang guguhit. Hindi ko bibitawan ng pangako namin. Ako'y magtatanim para may aani. Para sa kinabukasan ay kakayanin. Lahat ay gagawin para sa amin makakain. Hindi magreklamo sa sinapit ng buhay. Pagbago ng landas ay tunay na sa aking kamay. Walang kutsara sa bibig, walang ginto sa bubog. Pinagsikapan ng lahat, laging gising, hindi tulog. Yeah, you're working hard at doing what you can. Down in the streets, you ain't allowed to complain about how you never had a seat. Hindi mo kasalanan, pero ganyan lang daw kasi kahit gaano umiyak, wala kang masisisi. Wala ba talaga? Ay tinanggap, pinaghirapan mo lahat. Kinahid mo hanggang sa dulot, nagsugatan yung balata. Itaas ang kamay at kumaway sa langit. Iwagay-way, tigpitan ng kapit. Saan mang sulok ng mundo'y aawit. Iaalay sa bayani na. Itaas ang kamay at kumaway sa langit. Iwagay-way, tigpitan ng kapit. Saan mang sulok ng mundo'y aawit. Iaalay sa bayani natin. Beggars can be choosers, so I didn't wanna leave. But I need to get my money up, no time to be naive. And I got love for my home country, put my heart back on my sleeve. So I go and make it proud because I know that they believe. Doon sa Diyos ka kumakapit, takot na mapag-isa. Sapat na ba ang paghihirap? May pag-asa pa nga ba? Pero hindi nagpatalo. Bayani sa mga tao, milyon-milyon taong-taong kakahid para makabago. Saludo ako sa'yo lagi. Ikaw ang bayani na katangi-tangi. Nauna ang pamilya sa iyong araw-araw. Kaya naman bayani ang iyong palaya. Ngayon itataas sa aking kamay dahil sa katapangan. At iwawagay-way ko sa iyong pangalan. Inay, itayatit kuya lahat ng ating kapamilyang OFW. Salamat po kayo'y mga bayani. Itaas ang kamay at kumaway sa langit. Iwagay-way, tigpitan ng kapit. Sa kumaway sa langit. Iwagay-way at tigpitan ng kapit. Saan mang sulok ng mundo'y aawit. Iaalay sa bayani natin. Mula sa hirap ay aabot sa langit. Ano? Wala sa aming dugo ang magpatalo. Pangako na kahit anong klaseng sitwasyon ay hahanap ng solusyon. Babangon ng babangon. Dahil hindi pa din sapat kaya't kakayod ang lahat. Walang-wala man tayo minsan. Paghihirap man ay pinsan. Sigurado na aahon anumang bagyong sumapit. Di matatangay ng araw, di matatanggal ang kapit. Got a mission and a vision, that's what's keeping me here. And I ain't leaving till I have it, so I'm making it clear. Nakakayanin ng peligro, ganyan lang ako katibay. Sa kanin ng pamilya ko, yuhukay ng uhukay. I won't be staying on the ground, I'm aiming high. And when I'm up, only time I'm coming back is when I die. I'll end it all and start it over in the name of my whole family. I'll carry all the struggles, cause I know they can depend on me. Itaas ang kamay at kumaway sa langit. Iwagay-way at tigpitan ng kapit. Saan mang sulok ng mundo'y aawit. Iaalay sa bayani na itaas ang kamay at kumaway sa langit. Iwagay-way at tigpitan ng kapit. Saan mang sulok ng mundo'y aawit. Iaalay sa bayani natin.
You've just listened to Bayani by J. Rose Tate, who is an 18-year-old Afro-Filipina singer-songwriter born and raised in the Philippines. She's one of the latest young talents to hit the rap scene following the recent release of her album Blasian at the beginning of 2021. Her African-American father, who guides her through her music, believes that her self-expression in her art without Tagalog would be incomplete. In her interview with Next Shark, she explained how half Filipino children with white parents seem to be treated differently from those who are Blasian. While Tate believes that discrimination against color or race is starting to be erased, she also thinks that it is still very noticeable in the Filipino community. For the next song of the episode, we've got a song by Saweetie. Diamante Kiava Valentin Harper, born on July 2nd, 1993, known professionally as Saweetie, is an American rapper of Afro-Asian ancestry. After the release of her debut single, Icy Girl, in 2017, she was signed to her then-manager Max Gauss's record label, Artistry Worldwide, a subsidiary of Warner Records. Her second EP, Icy, was released in March 2019 and spawned the top 40 single, My Type. Later singles Tap In and Best Friend featuring Doja Cat reached the top 20 on the Billboard Hot 100. And in 2021, she received 2 nominations for the 64th Annual Grammy Awards, including one for Best New Artist. Here's Closer by Saweetie featuring her, followed by Dragon Ball Durag remix by Thundercat featuring Smino and Guapdad 4000.
Pull me closer. It's the freak in me I wanna show ya. It feels so good, don't want it to be over. I'm not ready. I know that you like it, come closer. It's the freak in me I want you. I love everything you do. I'd do anything for you. I love everything you do. It's the freak in me I want.
I wanna fall in love for the weekend. 3 boyfriends, I don't know where I'm sleeping. We be clubbing, thugging, fucking. Order room service when we done, that's a sequence. He know I'm a classy nympho. We'll keep it simple, you know what you here for. To the concierge, let you up with the key code. All this ice on, but he bout to catch a heat stroke. You got everything that I like. You don't eat the booty, you lying. How you mixing liquors, you might. Pull me tight and pull me
closer. It's the freak in me I wanna show ya. It feels so good, don't want it to be over. I'm not ready. I know that you like it, come closer. It's the freak in me I want you. I love everything you do. I'd do anything for you. I love everything you do. It's the freak in me I want.
When the quickie in my rolls and my Hermes leather, no shoes in my car cause my flow man's feather. Ain't tripping if it rain cause it came with umbrellas to get wetter. I got him sending Birkins on my birthday. I ain't never met him, he don't even know my birth name. I can know my pics so I know we like him curvy. Crush on the it boy, when I'm in the worst way. I just roll the dice, only store him in the nicknames. I sing mwah, ooh Canadians out them drugs. But then she dig on paint walls. Hold me closer, ooh, so suave.
It's the freak in me, I wanna show you.
Let me show you, baby.
It feels so good, don't want it to be over. Now ready, I know that you like it, come closer. It's the freak in me, I want you, you. I love everything you do.
Everything you do.
I'd do anything for you, you. I love everything you do.
Yeah, I do, baby.
It's the freak in me, I want.
I feel kind of fly standing next to you. Baby girl, how do I look in my do-rag? Would you tell me the truth? Stay with me and love me through the night. Endlessly, I'ma keep on my chains when I'm making love to you. Hold me close and let me squeeze you tight through the night. But baby girl, how do I look in my do-rag? Would you tell me the truth? Do you like my new whip? Watch me go zoom, zoom. Baby girl, how do I look in my do-rag? Would you tell the truth? Stay with me and love me through the night. Endlessly, I just wanna know how you feel. Tell me, am I doing it right? I tie my tie right in the front, baby. I let my cape fly up to the front. See, the one who straight fly up in the blue. You know, I've been doing this for 6 times.
No cap, I let the K fly. Look like the magic carpet or some Latin drapes. Your opinion don't make my European tour date stop. So baby, won't you make my day and tell me a straight lie? Tell me this the best you ever do, rag. The suede is the knot in the front. I made that kitty smoke. Her mom say, not in the front.
You know better than to be smoking in front of my house. Take that to the backyard. I don't say nothing.
Sorry, mama, but your daughter the one. We just finished round 6. We started at 1. We harmonize when we bust. The art of the gun. I lay it down like my edges in the womb of my scarf. I got the blue and like Belly Roll, the Keisha and Spark.
I tie my tie right in the front. I let my cape fly up to the floor.
Okay, Smee J Walker at your scalp. We've all that fake bullshit out. Told them crumbs to roll on out. Say this here, your daddy house. Condom sex original. I got so many protective styles. Twist and turns, we gon' jail so natural. Yeah.
See, baby, I know you think I'm handsome.
Martin Luther Silk, come through putting balls on your scalp. Don't need no head and shoulders. I got juice to get flaking out. The top your head, girl, we moisturize from this point and out. I'm your man, can't you see that I've been doing shit? Be like Manny Fresh, BG, Birdman, Turkey, Wayne's little children. Boy, hot, I got the highs for you. You hot tea, no limp. Hot tea got me hot and bothered when she pulled up with silk. Hot tea got me hot and bothered when she pulled up with silk. Tea tree oil rained upon your vessel, that's essential drip. She told me I never gave a fuck, so I bought Fendi Fist. And start diving head first into your head, scarf head, honey. Like, hey, what that nigga Smee say earlier? Baby, love you when you act up. Every time you see my head is wrapped up. Caught you in your bonnet, that's why I give you back shots. Just hope you don't backstab me if I should call for backup. I need some help with that ass, it's too fat, that's crazy. When I get tired from pick up the slack, that's lazy. I take a power nap after she threw it back for me. My do-rag fell off, I was asleep, she put it back for me. Thank you. I feel fire, I feel mythical, I'm fly, I'm a do-rag dragon. So I showed up to the Grammys with my do-rag dragon. C&E and Vogue, Japan and GQ. And I did all of this to meet you.
Well, we hope you grooved and vibed while listening to these songs as we did. Akeem Ali Douglas Hayes, born on July 26, 1992, professionally known as Guap, aka Guap Dad 4000, is an Afro-Filipino American rapper, singer, and songwriter. He's also a member of the hip-hop supergroup Zoink Gang. He released his first mixtape, Scam Boy Color, on December 6, 2017, and his debut studio album, Dior Deposits, was released on October 25, 2019. He shared in an interview with ABS-CBN that being born biracial came with its challenges, sometimes brought by people from both his communities. Guapdad said it was hard to get accepted from both sides because you always aren't Black enough or you aren't Filipino enough. So you kind of play a balance, and you have to learn how to separate other people's opinions for yourself and live for yourself and love what you are as a whole. That being said, welcome to your weekly community announcements. Firstly, have you signed up for our Kapwa Walk yet? This is your chance to meet your Kapwa and our team. This Saturday from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m., just like last time, we will have champorado courtesy of Dre's Pies. Meetup time and place is 10 a.m. at Metro Charlevoix. What is Kapwa Walk? It's a monthly meetup for Filipina, Filipino, Filipinx to connect, explore, and move together for our mental health. For more information, visit our Instagram at Centre Kapwa and don't forget to sign up on Eventbrite. If you didn't have anyone yesterday during Valentine's Day, the Filipino Organization of Concordia University students organized a Tara Mag-usap Tayo, a queer and ally date night. It's taking place via Zoom this Friday, February 17th from 6 to 8 p.m. One of Radyo Kapwa's hosts, Veronica, will be there as one of the speakers sharing her experiences as a proud out queer Filipinx. For more information, visit their Instagram at Focus Concordia, FOCUSCONCORDIA, and sign up on Eventbrite. On the same day, you can join Storytelling is a Love Language, an open mic event for BIPOC organized by South Asian Youth Collective held at Frigo Vert. If you're interested in what you hear, check out their Instagram at Say Collective, SAY_COLLECTIVE for more information. Next up, for legal aid, Head & Hands' legal clinic is open this evening regarding employment, privacy, and human rights issues. You must fill an intake form to book an appointment. Check out their Instagram page for more information at head_and_hands. And last but not least, organized by Head & Hands as well, sign up to Knowledge is Power, Entrepreneurship, a legal workshop you need if you want to be your own boss. This is open for youth ages 12 to 25, held at Head & Hands' office on 3465 Benny Avenue next week on Tuesday, February 21st from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Thank you for tuning in weekly to Radyo Kapwa on CKUT 90.3 FM. This has been Laura from Hiraya Productions. Happy Black History Month and mabuhay.